Scorecard. Thanks for making us part of your day. A little bit different here. I'm not in the studio today. I'm in my car, and I'm heading down to Orlando, Florida. Big week for me at the PGA show. We'll be down there all week. Got some great content coming your way. Golf season it's getting started, right? I know there's a lot of winter weather across the United States. It's a little chilly, as you can see down here in Florida, high of 51. That's neither here or there. I know single digits in much of the country, but it's coming, right? February is near, then March. So here we go. PGA Tour, the West Coast swing, big week. It's the Farmers Insurance Open. Tiger Woods is playing. Jordan Spieth is playing. Excited to see where he's at with his driver swing. And Rory McIlroy is in the field. Bubba Watson, Tim Wilkinson, and another guy that's in the field is Jason Day. Now, Jason Day withdrew from the President's Cup, and we talked about it on the Monday Scorecard. And I brought up the question, what is Jason Day doing with his swing? He's making some changes with Colin Swatton. I reached out to Colin, his coach, to see maybe what some of those changes were specifically. He denied to come onto the show, and that's fine, right? A lot of these guys are going to play it close to the vest, and they're going to keep it silent. But I'm curious, with Jason, from my eyes, my perspective coming in, what's going to happen to take some pressure off of that bat? Are they going to turn the right hip a little bit more, maybe losing some flexion in the right knee, which might help, eliminate some of that side bend to the right at impact? There's some things there that I think Jason could probably do to relieve some of the pressure off of the lower back. So I'm excited to see where he's at coming back into the fold. I reached out to a couple teachers regarding this topic and just kind of threw it around a little bit, maybe some things that we might see. And one of the guys that I enjoy talking to is Shaheen Nakjavani, one of the top teachers up in Montreal, Canada, works with a number of mini tour players, and is very good when it comes to the golf swing, the stress that it takes on the bat. And I asked him some questions about Jason Day and his golf swing here in 2020. Check it out. So let's bring Shaheen in now, up in wintry Montreal. I got it right this time, Shaheen, not Toronto, my bad. Montreal. And I read the tweet to the audience, and I wanted to bring you in to first get your thoughts on this technique with Jason, right? The flexed right knee, the level hips. How much do you think this technique has led to the back issues that Jason is facing now?
I mean, to some degree, I don't think we can ever pinpoint or quantify exactly how much of that damage stems from the swing itself. But I have been coaching for 10 years. I've seen this recurring pattern take place over and over again. So at a certain point, when you see the same pattern and you know the compensations the player is making on the downswing to try to correct that pattern, and you know how much pressure it's applying to the back, it doesn't surprise me at all, to be completely honest, that he's struggling with back injuries. His swing is not doing himself any favors.
Yeah, and for many years, this lower body, support. I've been teaching for 20 years now, and I look back and things evolve, right? And I can remember many times probably teaching the lower body to be a little too stagnant, in the backswing, not letting the right knee lose some flexion to allow that right side of the pelvis to get higher, and then that chain reaction that happens from there to eliminate some of that side bend to the right that we see with Jason's swing. And I think you make a good point. It's hard to say how much, you can't quantify it 100%. I mean, back pain, I think, goes beyond the golf swing. But I do think there for many years we got into too much resistance, and now things are kind of freeing up a little bit. Do you think now, with the kind of the trend of modern teaching and this changing of knee flex, the inclination of the pelvis, the spine covering it better, that we very much could see less back pain in the future?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I mean, people are working out a lot more now than they were 15, 20 years ago as a professional golfer. So players are naturally stronger, more flexible, more fit. That within itself, even outside of the golf instruction world, is going to help limit some of the damage. I also think that, instruction just has changed. I mean, a lot of the things that were taught back then, as you just mentioned, are no longer taught. We're able to prove and quantify different things through the evolution of technology. And, when you're forcing a player into that type of restriction that was commonly taught back then, it's amazing to me that there aren't more players who have suffered from similar back injuries. I know there's quite a few of them, but golf is an unnatural sport. You're swinging so fast and torquing your spine in so many ways. The element of risk is always going to be there. But if we can limit some of that risk through freeing up the body's movement pattern, I mean, at the end of the day, why not take that? Because your health is your priority, regardless of what your swing looks like.
What do you say to your critics, Shaheen, that, I've heard and read, in Twitter and whatnot? I mean, this has really opened up some debate. But, the critic of, the reason that you're stating this, others who kind of fall into this side of the debate, the reason that you're stating this is because this fits your mold. This fits your methodology. There's been plenty of players in the past that have had the fairly upright lead arm, not a lot of change in knee flex, and really not a lot of back pain that we know of. So, how do you answer that when people come at it from that way?
For starters, I think when you put your information out into the world of social media, you have to understand that there's going to be people who are going to debate with you regardless whether you're scientifically correct or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the norm for me. Obviously, I do a lot of work on social media, so to get people commenting with their negative comments and criticism, and some of it is healthy debate. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. Some of it is just sheer insults, which I just kind of pass that along. In terms of that part of it, I mean, look, if I put you into that situation, let's say I was giving you a lesson, right? And I get your arm super upright at the top, and without even swinging at the speed that you would normally swing at in a golf swing, and I grab your trail shoulder, so for you as a right-handed golfer, that would be your right shoulder, and I yank it down to the ground while keeping your legs stable, meaning you're going to side bend and crunch that right side of your body. Are you going to tell me that you wouldn't feel that pressure on that part of your back? Of course you would, right? And so just the scientific fact that if I force your body into those movements, that you will feel a decent amount of pressure in the exact area that he's getting injured and some other golfers are getting injured. This doesn't mean everybody would get injured with that movement. It simply means that you're not doing yourself favors where the element of risk is increasing with a pattern similar to that.
Yeah, and I think there's it's been well documented, some players now that are trying to get that out. I mean, Ricky Fowler was one when he came out of college, has tried to get some of that side bend of the right out at impact to eliminate some stress. We see it with Tiger now, certainly very different through the impact zone. So, this direction of instruction and where things are going, you look at Jason Day now, this has been an issue for a long time. And, Colin Swatton's his coach. I was reading some of the quotes that they made. It almost felt like a sense of urgency to start making some changes now. He talked about turning the right hip better. Jason has a tendency to slide a little bit, and then the spine leaning to the left. So I think it sounds much more apparent in his camp. Some changes need to be made in the swing. And I think what will be interesting is to, as the sway in the hip, right, that little lateral slide, how much flexion in the right knee, if any, will be given up to get this turn a little bit freer and the lead arm a little bit deeper to the top, because if I'm understanding you correctly, that certainly would be your recommendation moving forward.
Yeah, and it's interesting you named those two other players, Ricky and Tiger, okay? So this is something I want to clarify for everyone. Whenever you're thinking about retaining your body angles, meaning not like early extending or side bending too far away from the target or anything like that, there is a pattern that needs to be created where you have the ability to be able to create that rotation. Meaning there's a lot of moving pieces in your golf swing, right? The golf swing is a complex mechanism. If you don't have all of those pieces moving within a specific range of areas, you cannot functionally create that rotation because you're not going to hit a good shot. It doesn't mean you can't learn how to rotate. It simply means you can't rotate and hit a good shot at the same time because other variables are out of position. And Ricky and Tiger would fall under those categories. Ricky has a tendency of getting very long and very laid off at the top, Everybody knows it's well documented. He has the hands come down and he pulls a little bit. The shaft steepens in transition. When that shaft steepens in transition, that steepening motion is going to prevent him to be able to create that rotation, right? And so what ends up happening is he's forced now into an environment where if he wants to hit a good shot, he's going to have to create that tilt away from the target. He's going to have to extend the spine a little bit more than he wants. And some of that is going to put pressure on his back, as is being well proven. And the same for Tiger. I mean, Tiger never really had a shallow shaft in the downswing, right? If you ever look at Tiger's history, I mean, he's always been quite steep coming down. He also has always had relatively close chest at impact, right? Left shoulder kicks way up and he closes his chest a lot. That is a reaction to get him to shallow the club. Now, that's going to put a lot of pressure on your back, as has been the case. And so when you're looking at a player and you want to be able to create that rotation for them in the downswing and stop them from doing those elements, you need to first make sure that all of the variables in the backswing and in transition are moving in a way to allow you to functionally do it. Because if they're not in position, you're not going to be able to do it, plain and simple. And so we're seeing that with all these golfers. And yes, I would agree. I would definitely get Jason a little more rotation. I would get his right hip a little higher in the backswing, get his chest to turn a little better, get the arm a little deeper. And you don't even have to consider what's going to take place in the downswing. He's so talented, organically speaking, he's probably going to start turning better on his own.
Mm-hmm. Well, Shaheen, I appreciate it. We could, you and I could talk for an hour on this. And I'll tell you what, I know you just started your new podcast, which is doing really well. Tell our audience about that podcast and where they can find it.
Yeah, so I just launched a podcast about 3 weeks ago. It's called How's My Hand Path? Kind of a play on golf instruction, lexicon. My podcast, you can find it pretty much anywhere. I mean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, you name it, we have it on the internet. Have quite a few fun guests involved. We had some coaches come on the show who work with tour players. I just had Peter Malnati, who plays on the PGA Tour, as my last guest. Aaron Oberholzer from the Golf Channel. Just a mix of characters, talking golf, talking instruction and whatnot. So if people are interested, they're welcome to come on and check it out.
Yeah, let's do. We'll talk further on that. I'll get you on the Stripe Show here soon as well. And as always, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Thanks.
It's for the amateur or you playing on the tour. Club champ, Corn Ferry, ladies, PGA. Hey, it's Travis Fulton and I know you know the name. We finna touch on every topic in the game. Couple golf tips, they'll get you right with your swing. T-shots, get stripes, and then plus getting drained. With Travis Fulton and the money scorecard, let's go.